Hey guys, this is Heidi with Hush Hush Magazine, and today I wanted to talk about the process of buying a house right now. Let's talk about the 2022 housing market. Why? Because, as you guys might know, your girl ain't trying to work for the rest of her life, at least work a 9 to 5 for the rest of her life. And I'm sure that there are many other people that feel that way for various reasons. And so one of the hacks, quote unquote, if you want to call it a hack, that I'm super interested in and passionate about is real estate, and using real estate as a means of building a business, building wealth, making money, and using that to basically break free of the 9 to 5 at some point in the future. And this is something that I've thought about for a long time and always dreamed of. And I'm fortunate enough that this year I've finally been able to go on this journey. And so I just wanted to share with you guys what it's been like, to encourage anyone else who is on this journey, because it is not easy, especially when you're young and you're single and you're just saving every coin to try and make it work. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it. So I've, as usual, written down a couple of notes so that I'm not endlessly ranting, because I do appreciate videos that are to the point, and I'm sure you guys do too. So we're talking about the housing market and what it's like to buy real estate in right now. I will put a qualifier, which is that I have specifically been looking in the Phoenix, Arizona market. And I know that it mirrors a lot of other hot and fast growing markets in the US specifically right now, but not every single market in the US is as hot or growing as quickly as Phoenix. Phoenix is a top 5, city in terms of growth in the US. And I think it's number 8 maybe, or number 7, something like that, either 8 or 7 in terms of like largest cities in the USA. So it is a major city, it's a major metro area, and it has been growing very quickly for I think the past like almost decade now. And right now it's a super hot time for Phoenix because during the pandemic, people have been leaving more expensive metro cities like New York City, Los Angeles, San Francisco, but I think especially more in the West, people have been leaving California cities, maybe even Seattle, or elsewhere, and flocking to cities like Phoenix or like Las Vegas. And so there's a lot of interest from not just investors, but even just ordinary citizens who are looking for more affordable housing, who are looking for a more relaxed lifestyle, looking for more space. With the pandemic, a lot more people are working from home, so there's a lot more flexibility as well. So there are many, many reasons why Phoenix is a hot market. I say all of that just to set the context for you guys of what type of situation me and other people are basically coming into as they're looking to buy a home, buy a property for investment purposes or otherwise. So that said, the first thing that I wanted you guys to know that I've learned, slowly on my own as I've been going on this journey this year is that number one, inventory is low. Again, this is specific for my experience with the Phoenix market, but I think from what I've seen and heard that it does mirror many other cities in the country as well. Not that many people are leaving their homes, not that many homes are available in general, and not that many new homes are getting built. You guys are probably aware that there are a bunch of supply shortages, and there have been a bunch of issues with our supply chain and shipping and raw materials and things like that. So anything related to like construction or renovation or real estate has actually been quite tough in general. You'll probably notice that companies like Home Depot, Lowe's, their stocks have been actually doing very well during the pandemic because people have been paying top dollar to try and secure these materials and try and get things done. There's been so much demand for people trying to move into more spacious and just like more livable cities and places. So that's number one. Inventory is low. I specifically have been looking at 4-bedroom homes, and that's not as common in general. And so because it's not as common, inventory would have already been low, but given the market right now, it's even lower. On a day-to-day basis, I would say I probably see maybe one new house that comes up in the entire Phoenix metro area. Generally what you'll see, or what I have seen, is that it's more like Wednesday through Saturday that I'll start to see some new properties come up. But again, when it does come, it's kind of like 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. And so when you add it all up through the week, it averages out to about 1 a day, and maybe even a little bit below that. So that makes it really tough because, not all of those houses are going to necessarily fit the criteria that you're looking for. It might be in a location that you don't prefer, or it might be really old or out of date, or, there could be a million and one things that just doesn't make it right. So the fact that you have such few homes to even work with and even choose from already puts you in a very difficult starting position. So that's number one. Inventory has been super low. The second thing is that a lot of houses in general, again, I'm thinking specifically Phoenix market, but I'm sure it's applicable to other US markets as well. A lot of homes are old, or a lot of homes are just not nice, or even if they renovated it, it might not have been tastefully done. And so you're kind of put in a hard spot because you have to choose, do I want a home that's ready for me to move in, that all I have to do is just grab my furniture, put it in, and I'm good? Or do I want a home that might need some work, which means I'll be spending more time, spending more money, spending more effort? You have to kind of crunch the numbers and see whether it makes sense. In my case, initially, I had been willing to put in the work because, again, there are a lot more homes that need more work than don't. And so I was thinking I'm young, I'm energetic, I can do it. But what's really important is you do want to get in contact with a contractor, or general contractor, or just someone who has good, valid experience working on renovating homes, fixing things up, and kind of list out the different fixes that you're thinking of, and get an estimate from them of, rough figure estimates of how much it might cost to actually get it done. And then take that number and add 50% to it. And that is because, in my experience, what I've found is that whatever you think is going to cost to renovate a place, it actually tends to be more. And even more during this pandemic. Like I said earlier, there are supply shortages left and right when it comes to real estate and fixing up homes. And so prices are up, supply is low, demand is high. Be ready to pay up. And so your estimates are going to be higher. So once I kind of did all the math, crunched the numbers, and looked at it, it actually ended up coming out to be that getting a newer property that's ready to move into is actually the better deal. And also it's going to just save you time, because once you buy the home, you have that mortgage to pay for it. And if it's an investment property and you're not going to be living in it, then you have $2,000-$3,000 on your hands that you have to out of pocket come out for while you're fixing it up or trying to do whatever you want to do. So you really need to think about all the costs and expenses that will be involved, and see whether it makes sense for you. But in my case, it was better to just go for the homes that were move-in ready. So that was the second thing, considering that a lot of the houses are older and might not be move-in ready. The third thing is that, this is something I already knew, but just keeps getting reaffirmed over and over again. The pictures lie, guys. The pictures are never as nice as you think it will be. And it's super, super important to make sure that you go and see your property in person. I made this mistake once with an apartment that I went to live in. I saw similar units and saw videos of the actual unit, but I never saw the actual unit in person, and I never saw it, at different times of the day, or from different perspectives, things like that. It's super important that you don't just rely on a video that they might have taken, which might be tempting if, like me, you're living in one city and then you're looking in another city. It might be tempting to just rely on the video, trust the video, and go with it. But unless you have a really great relationship with the person, either agent or whoever it is that's helping you tour in that other city, I would highly recommend you go in yourself, because they're not going to understand the types of things that might tip you off. So for example, there was one property that I actually went under contract in, and it all seemed great and dandy in the video. But then when I got there, one of the first things I noticed immediately was how noisy it was. I was like, whoa, I did not realize there was this huge main road right there, and how it's just right there and it's loud. And my real estate agent didn't really think that much about it, because for him, he's not as sensitive to noise. It's not that big a deal to him. But to me, it's like, I've already been in a situation before where I bought a condo where there was a highway, not right next to it, but a few minutes away, and I could hear it. And at night, I would lie down there and I would hear it and I would go crazy. And so those are the types of things that you might not catch right away just from a video or from pictures. And so it's super important to go and see your properties in person. It's the third thing. The fourth thing, the fourth thing is related, the environment. It's going to be really hard for you to gauge the environment, the neighborhood, if you don't go and see it in person. So again, encourage y'all to go see your properties in person before you actually buy or close. Fourth thing that is making the housing market really tough right now is the competition. Like I said earlier, because the inventory is so low and demand is so high, it means the properties go so quickly. I think that was one of the things that shocked me the most when I started this journey, is that I would see a house and I'll be like, oh yeah, this house looks cool. And, I'll send it to my friends and I'll be thinking about it. And, I have a 9 to 5, so I'm working, getting my stuff done. By the time I have my lunch break and I go to look at the property again, it's gone. It suddenly says pending or contingent. And it's just like, whoa, it's only been on the market for 3 days. And now it's already under contract. It's gone. I've even had some scenarios where I found a house that was just listed or just published 24 hours ago. And by the time I even rushed to put in the offer that same day, they've already accepted an offer from someone else. And so if you're serious about buying a house right now, you really have to be ready to go. It's really hard when you have a 9 to 5, you have other things that you're doing, you're busy. But if you see a home and your first reaction is oh my God, I love this, it's gorgeous, I want it, just don't waste time. And this is something I wish my real estate agent had told me from the get-go, because then it would not have taken me as long as it's taken me to find a home. I wish he would have just told me, when you see something and you like it, let's just put in an offer. Because even when I would see it and I would tell him that I liked it, I would say oh, let's set up a tour, da-da-da. You don't even have time, guys, to even book the tour and then go and do the tour. It's going to be gone. It's either going to be under contract or they're already going to be reviewing offers, and you're going to miss out. And so it does sound crazy, and I know it blew my mind when I first started of how am I going to put in an offer for a house when I haven't even seen it? But for you to even have a chance to even have a property and get a property that you like, you have to just put in the offer and then worry about the tour afterwards. And then you can go do the tour, and then if you don't like it, you can exit. Or if you do the tour and you are not sure if your offer gets accepted, which I'm going to get to that and how that's a whole hurdle in and of itself. If your offer gets accepted, you usually have, a certain number of days for inspection. Right now, it seems to be the standard is 5 days, but I'm sure it can be less or more. And you can go and inspect it, see if there are any issues, take a look at it, do the tour in person, and then decide at that point if it meets your needs. If it does not meet your needs, or if you see an issue, you can then void the contract. So that's the next thing that I wish someone had told me. Put in an offer. ASAP. Don't waste time. This market is too hot. You're going to miss the opportunities if you don't jump on them right away. The next thing is that I feel like there was something I was going to say related to them going off the market super fast and having to tour. Oh yeah, the offers. Yeah, so if you see it, you like it, great. You put in an offer. Back in the day, I'm going to sound like an old person, but back in the day, it used to be that you could put it in offer, and if it was, you know, a strong offer, like coming in at full ask, putting in a good amount of earnest money, you know, having like a relatively short period for inspection, like doing things to just show the seller that you're serious, you're committed, and you're going to close and it's going to be over. That used to be enough. Even I remember like a few years ago, if you came in under ask, depending on the situation, it would not even be that offensive, and they'd be willing to go back and forth with you to negotiate. Guys, when I say those days are over, those days are over, like with capital O and capital VER. Coming in and ask is not even sufficient. Don't even bother. Like, no one will even look, again, in the Phoenix market, no one will even look at your offer if you're coming in and ask. You need to come in over ask. And I would say probably minimum 10 to 15K is what I was seeing. But that's just so that they can at least look at your offer and take it seriously and review it. If you want to win the bid, you want to win the house and actually get the house, what I've been seeing is actually 20 to 30K over ask. So if a house is 400K, you have to come in 430 in order to actually win. And again, that will be with a significant amount of earnest money, taking the house as is, not asking for any repairs. And that's, again, if you're lucky, because there have been plenty of homes where I came in 20, 30K over and someone else came in 35K over or 40K over. Like, it's an insane market. And the more beautiful the home, the more aggressive the bidding will be. And it's in the seller's interest to prolong, you know, the offering period, and so people will keep going back and forth. Like, my agent will come in and say like, oh yeah, they liked your offer, but another one just came in 5K over. What are you gonna do? And it's like, if you're serious, you're gonna be like, okay, fine, I'll come in and match. But then matching doesn't mean anything. Matching doesn't mean you're gonna win. And it's like, are you trying to win? Are you trying to get this house or what? So if you're trying to win, then guess what? You gotta come in 10K over. So all of a sudden, your 430K offer is now a 440K offer. So, you know, if you're lucky and the seller is satisfied with that, maybe they'll take your 440K and end it at that. Or if there's still time, you know, another real estate agent can find out you put in a 440K offer, and then all of a sudden someone else is coming in with 450, and then it just keeps going like that. So it's tough, it's emotional, and you have to really decide beforehand what your absolute cutoff is. Something that I did not realize when I started this process, especially this type of like bidding and like people going back and forth, is when you put it in an offer, number one, like, don't play games. If you really like the house and you know the market is hot, don't be coming in like 10K over ask and thinking it's gonna be, you know, something going on. Ain't nothing gonna be going on. Nothing's gonna be happening. You need to come in with what is considered your best and final offer. And so if you've seen that, you know, you need to put in 20, 30K to win, and you really want the house, you need to come in right off the bat with at least 30, if not 35 or 40. And it sucks because a part of you is going to feel like, you know, am I overpaying? But that's where you're going to have to do the math and crunch the numbers beforehand, before you get into that bidding and like competitive situation, to figure out what is your max, like what can you actually afford in terms of monthly payment, in terms of down payment, in terms of closing costs, summing that all up and seeing what it comes to, you know, mapping out the different scenarios, like, oh, what if it's at 420? What if it's at 440? Like, what does the math look like at that point? And what is my absolute max? And where would that put me in? And so it's super important to work with your lender, figure out like what's the going interest rate, figure out what the interest rate could potentially increase to, figure out a rough estimate of like what percent of the sales price the closing costs might be, so you can figure out how far you're willing to go, so that when your realtor comes back and says like, oh, do you want to go up 10K? Do you want to match? Do you want to do this or that? You can go and look at your numbers and be like, sadly, I can't match. Sadly, I can't do it. Or like, oh yeah, let's go for it. I'm good for it. So that's super, super important, so that you can make those decisions quickly, because the process does move quickly. And if someone else swoops in and says like, I'm going to offer that 10K extra, I know I can do it, and the seller decides, okay, works for me, I'll take that, then guess what? You're out of the game and it's over. And you got to start all over again, looking every day for houses. And like I said, it's only like one house a day. So yeah, do your numbers, guys. Crunch your numbers. And the other thing that was super shocking to me is that people are even out here waiving appraisals. So the appraisal process is when they'll have someone who will come in and look at your house, look at the stats of your house, like the square footage, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, what it has, like a pool, stuff like that, garages. Look at all the stats of your house and basically compare it to other homes that have sold in the last couple of months in that area. And they will then be able to say, like, based on how the home sales prices have been, this is the market price, or actually like the market value of your home. So if the bidding gets super crazy and, you know, it's a $400,000 house that the bidding went up to $450,000, and the appraiser comes in, and at that time that he comes in, similar homes were actually sold for $425,000. Then you have what's called a shortfall. The difference between the $425,000 and the $450,000 is the $25K shortfall that, guess what? The bank is not going to give you money for that. They're not going to give you a loan for that, because as far as the bank is concerned, the appraiser said that house is worth $425,000. Why are you trying to pay $450,000 for? Because you wanted a house. So if you still want that house, then you're gonna have to cover that $25K shortfall on your own with cash, basically. So that's another element that was new for me this time in the process, and I think a lot of people don't know about. That's something you have to be ready for, and it's actually something that your lender will probably include in a highly competitive contract, willing to cover up to, you know, 15, 20, 25K shortfall. So that's something else that's useful to know and that you should include in your calculations as well. And then the last part, you know, cherry on top of this crazy ass like crumbling cake, is interest rates. As you guys know, these past 10 years, we've had some of the lowest mortgage interest rates in history. At one point, I think it was like 1 point something something, 2 point something something. In this past year, it's gone up closer to threes, I believe. And now it's well on its way to 4. If you are looking at investment properties and about to take out an investment loan as opposed to a primary loan, conventional loan, then you might, you know, you're looking closer to like 5% right now, which it sounds like it will not make a huge difference. But to give you guys an idea, when I first started this process at the beginning of the year, just a few months ago, I was quoted an interest rate of, I want to say maybe it was like, let's say like around 4%, maybe like 4.3%, something like that. And the monthly costs of, let's say, like a $400,000 home came out to around like $2,100, let's say, $2,100 or $2,200. Now that it's closer to 5%, so like 7 percentage point difference, we're looking closer to like $2,600. And so that's like a $400-$500 difference. It might not sound like it's a lot, but it actually is a lot of money. The good news is that if the rates ever drop, you know, in the future, you can refinance it to try and take advantage of that lower interest rate, but it does mean that you have to kind of restart, you know, your payment period all over again. So let's say like a year had passed and you're taking out a 30-year loan and you had 29 years left, then you're going to start at 30 years all over again. But then you would get hopefully the lower monthly payment. So there are pros and cons, but I know I've just been personally super shocked by like how much the interest rate has changed, even in just these past few months, because the last time that I went through this process, it would change, from like 3.4 to 3.5 or 3.5 to 3.6, not like, 4 to 5. So that's all I got for you guys. Let me try and quickly summarize again. Inventory is low, houses are mad old, pictures be deceiving, go in person, see the properties so you could gauge things you might not be able to tell from videos or photos. Be ready to act immediately. Things are going off the shelves within hours or days. Be ready to bid over. Be ready for people who want to waive appraisals. Be ready for shortfalls, if the house doesn't come up to the appraisal. And be ready for the interest rates to just keep rising because, we've been enjoying a sweet period and I don't think it's going to last. So, yeah, that's what I've been learning these last few months. I hope this is useful for anyone else that might be in the market right now and struggling. I'll just say, don't give up. Keep looking, stay on it. As long as the interest rates are staying, at a point where you can still afford to get a home, afford to get an investment property, I think it's still worth it. Just make sure that your numbers make sense. The math's gotta math, as some people say. But yeah, that's it. Let me know if you guys have any questions or have anything else you want me to cover. But I hope that's helpful and see you guys next time.